here again on Sandhog, as well as this time we may actually be going into the map.
And we're ready to get it going here. You can see that plane going right down the center here of Sandhog. Of course, all these players are going to be able to fly anywhere that they want to. And I am looking, and we can already see some squads jumping out really early here. Yep. I'm looking at Mad Bulls. They were one of the first teams out of the plane. You got Besiktas Black going to that southern east side of the map. Oh, baby. It's day number 2, the last day for Group Red. Let's see what they can do.
Mad Bulls, the new entry to today, and Besiktas Black, that old hat from yesterday. Only 6 matches. I don't know why I'm calling them old hat, but they are going to be coming on in. Vampire out over towards Ruins and Tambang. Looks like they're not going to be super contested there. Obviously, a lot of rotational paths available to them from the area. They can swing down south past Painan, move up north to that island. I quite like that sort of area. We'll see if they're able to do anything with it. Painan, potentially a little bit of trouble there. As Reject are split a little bit further north with 4MV taking up Painan mainly, but Duello might have a look in quite early to be able to take shots down to 4MV.
Yeah, and I don't think he wants to, because all the rest of his players and teammates are quite a distance away from him. And that's kind of that Painan split, you know, because Painan, you could definitely split loot a little bit. Yeah, but you definitely want some players to kind of get some of those surrounding areas. Now, we do not have a similar zone to yesterday. So we have a mainland circle. So teams like EWC, Kia, who performed great, are going to have to get moving pretty quick here.
For sure. I'm looking up on the north side as well there. Tiamba and Brute Force pretty close to each other around Cow and Tapmark. There is basically an encirclement going on right now. Tiamba going to have to fight to leave unless Brute Force move early.
Oh boy, so let's see what happens. You got Vampire Esports, of course, over there near Ruins. Besiktas Black running, just trying to get their loot set up. You know they want them in force. You know they want that DBS, because they're going to need them here towards the end game. Now, Team Liquid, dead center of the map right now. They are in a great spot here. And not to mention Xavier over near in Paradise Resort. They're going to have all the loot that they want. But at the end of the day, they're coming in fresh, right? So, we're already starting to see some shots ring out from Brute Force.
Yeah, this is still on that north side, right? It looks like Tiamba have fully grouped up over towards Cow after dropping a little bit more disparately. Brute Force not going to fully engage onto this fight, and you can see exactly why now, because they are vulnerable. They are too spread to go for this full engagement, and Neos is in danger at this stage, being rolled straight on out. And Tiamba with an excellent response from Cow on that northern side. As soon as you take shots without the backup, you are going to feel the pain, and Tiamba will make it happen.
Neos knew he screwed up. He knew it.
As soon as
he did that shot, he hit that 180 and started sending it at full speed. And unfortunately,
let me tell you something.
Yeah, no, wait. I was just kidding. It was all a prank. It was all a prank. Freepod tried to help him out, but it was just too late. And that's what I was talking about, is when you have those split loots, you almost don't want to start those engagements, because if you're going against, 3 or 4 players that are pretty grouped up, you're in big trouble, and we saw what happened right there.
TJB getting a little bit close to the fire there. Rosy toes, but nothing more than that just yet. Yappy out the door, will not be able to find the shots. Being diverted around. TJB moving fairly early, actually, it has to be said, into this circle. Trying to move past Team Liquid, who have regrouped to the northeast side of that quarry.
Well, they definitely know where all these teams are, so they got a lot of intel on that one. And very fortunate for them, they don't lose a player. And a lot of times we see rotations like that, teams will sacrifice maybe 1 or 2 players in the process, but fortunate for them, they're going to be just all right. Now, teams that are still outside of this circle, Mad Bulls still to make their way in, Vampire, D+, Kia, a lot of names here. So we'll see how they decide to make this rotation on in. Now, we already seen some squads on the move. Xavier have left Paradise Resort. They looted very quickly and are looking for a more central position.
Teams starting to group up towards the center now. Boot camp has been evacuated. This northwest island, pretty slow on the move at the moment. Talon and D+ Kia yet to make their move. But we're on board with DXavier, and you're right, they've got a really important compound on the northern side of this circle. It controls a lot of the territory around them. In general, it's the compound that that DXavier are in, and the compound out to their west, those two junction compounds that have a lot of control. But for my money, I'd still be out on the hills. I don't think you want to be committing towards the indoors when you're not sort of slap bang in the center, and you know a lot of teams are going to be putting pressure on. I think on this northern side, for DXavier, I like that Paragen still has that outpost, right? Out to the east, it gives them a foothold outside of their compound because you do not want to be boxed in this early.
Yeah, you can tell they are just trying to get as much information as they can, and we're seeing them move away from that spot, which I definitely think is a good decision here. And that's the problem is, you know, at Sandhawk, it's such a small map. You don't want to overcommit and get greedy, if I say so, right? So sometimes you're just like, oh, this spot is good, but if we just move up this next hill, it'll be a little bit better. You get into engagement, get third-partied, and you're out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that maybe we didn't know how many teams were going to be moving around the north, but they dropped out late. They should have known there was a lot of teams to their south. So making this move now, I think it's wise. They've now put 2 players for DXavier out over towards a little bit closer to Barn, which I much prefer. So I think that's a good decision coming through from them. Talon have now left Hatin and are over to the mainland. They're playing on the compounds just to the south of that north bridge, which means that if D plus Kia opt to rotate past that ground, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, so they're going to have to gatekeep, you know, 2 monster squads of D plus Kia and possibly Tianba as well. So I think they're just going to kind of hang out here towards the edge. Yep, you can see them doing the 4S strategy is what I like to call it there. Snake, smoke, stun, and snake.
I like it. Okay, all right. I'll be drawing on that. I think that's quite inspiring. Maybe we could add silence.
Powerful.
Add a bit there.
Oh yeah, silence. The 5S strategy.
Yeah,
Very interesting. Very interesting here. Uh-oh. Brute Force popping some shots downrange. That's what got him in trouble in the first place. So Brute Force needs to calm down a little bit. It's too early to get into an engagement. If you see an obvious player where you know you can get that knock and thirst, yeah, take those shots. If not, just hurry up and wait, because if you do get into a fight in Sandhawk with this type of zone, the chances of both of you getting third party are just so high.
Let's talk about something you said earlier, right,
okay,
with brute force. And you're talking about you can't be making an over-aggressive play unless you know you can get the knock and flush. Brute force, right? Neos early on. Something that you said before when you were talking to them earlier today was that they felt like they were just making these mistakes. And that's just happened again. This is not good news for brute force fans.
Not good at all, yeah, especially considering that I think they are the lowest performing team in Group Red. Right, so
True.
Yeah, they're going to have to really give it all they got today if they want to make sure that they're in that top 12. And the problem with that is when you have a rough day 1, every team tomorrow knows exactly how many points they need to pass you up. Right?
Absolutely.
So if you're brute force, you cannot afford any mistakes. Losing a player early on is going to hurt. But we can watch D plus Kia. D plus Kia, like I said, if they don't get that circle, it's a tough time to get into this zone, and that's exactly what's happening. Talent Esports is staring right at them and just trying to make their lives miserable.
D plus Kia having already lost a player as well. They're trying to move over this north bridge. I'm not entirely sure that this was the right call to make. The moment Vampire actually have made a slightly better rotation over the trifecta compound, I feel like D plus Kia had the option to even swim across over towards boot camp, which in general, you know, if you have that scouting, which they should have done, being on that high ground, is a fairly simple rotation. It's definitely going to be in the playbook. You could even have moved south past that trifecta. Brute Force getting taken down. They try it. They try it on, and DXavier rolls straight on through them. Really strong stuff. I'm not entirely sure how that one started. I think DXavier moved down south towards Brute Force, but either way, another poor performance for Brute Force is now on the books.
Terrible performance right there. Brute Force, not what they were hoping for at all. So they're going to have to make it up here, and that's, I think like I said earlier, I think they punched out all their bad games yesterday, so they can't just have good games here today. They have to have incredible ones if they want to make it. But we're seeing Team Falcons and Team Reject go at it. That is a huge, huge fight. Action getting knocked down. It's going to be a close one right here, so we'll see what ends up happening with that, as we're also seeing Talon take out D plus Kia.
Yeah, they are continuing that pressure on the North Bridge rotation. On the northwest side of the central area of teams, this is where the fight between Reject and Falcons is happening. As we jump on board with it, you can see Falcons, all 4 of them alive, but East gets knocked, meaning there's 2 on the floor here, 2 in the dirt. 1 player already fully flushed. Divine for Reject is out of it. So 3 players active for Reject. These reses need to come through from Falcons to maintain pressure forwards. Icy starting to bleed out, but does get res, so they're back up to 3. East not in just yet, but Action has the nade in hand. In comes the Reject roll. They look at a move downhill now. Slowing the res, they are still as 3, but Sara's down in the back line, meaning it's only 2 players up for Reject. They're up and in the face of Falcons right now, and Falcons gonna give ground, gonna bide their time. They don't need to put too much pressure on. Reggie around the side, cannot find the shots. It's all on Duello. He falls flat in the face of Falcons.
And that is Team Reject on early. Up at the third party. Like I said earlier, if you get into an engagement early on, you're going to be in big trouble. So let's see if Team Falcons can hold on.
Falcons trying to pick the pieces back up. There is an interesting thing that's happening on the north side that I'll touch on later as well. But in the meantime, Falcons just getting run over. And this is Sandhawk all over. Third parties. And 4MV just making mincemeat right now of Falcons. 1 player now standing in their way. Action, the last to have something to say about this one. Apex cooking the nade. Down it goes, and over the top, doesn't get the knock. Action with the DBS, but it's not going to matter. I was talking about something that was happening in the north. That was Tianba moving over from that Tapmock cow engagement and taking on Talon on the bridge guard, right? Talon and D plus Kia both now on 1 player.
Unbelievable. You know, these teams did their homework, and they did it so well. Tiamba had to know that, hey, D plus Kia, we know where they're coming from. And not to mention, we want first place. We want to make it happen. So if we can make D plus Kia's time just a little bit more difficult, that is how you do it right there. But the big thing is the zone has now shifted even further to the east.
Absolutely. You've got some really strong positions out on the east side as well. You've got Alliance and you've got ULA X IHC. ULA X IHC, first day for them, remember? And if they can start things off with a good game here on Sandhawk, it would be brilliant. Out on the east side, they've got 2 really strong positions. At the moment, I think TJB are going to be under the most pressure as the circle shifts out to this east.
Yes, they are. So let's see what they're going to be able to do here. Mad Bulls on the rotation now, coming in for the first time here in this tournament. Group Green on the move. So let's see how they're going to be able to make it happen in Sandhawk. They have a very open rotation here, so they should be able to make it through Bond. And it's very typical of a circle like this. Anytime you have a hard shift, you see a lot of teams just hug that zone, go all the way to the hard shift side, and it looks like that will work out from them. Meanwhile, I mean, these teams are practically stacked on top of each other. They are so, so close, just waiting for that next zone.
What's really interesting about this zone is that the whole of the west side of it is kind of covered by quarry, right? And what this does is that any team that's approaching from the west, and obviously you were talking about those wide swings, I think this is going to exacerbate that. If you're trying to move in from the west, it really linearizes your approach, right? Normally, you know, you're worried about 120 degrees or so on your back, right? But here, you can really look at these narrow alleys. You've got essentially discrete approach points as opposed to having a continuous approach from behind. So the teams out on the west, they can rely on quarry for cover, but it also means that they have very direct and fast approaches towards their position.
That's right. You're going to have teams surrounding you or encapsulating you like pretty much from all around. So you got to be able to have your head on a swivel and you got to pick your fights perfectly. Now we're going to watch Tianba. Tianba, they did disrupt D plus Kia. They got 4 eliminations so far, and they are still in the blue zone. This is stage 3. It's starting to hurt a little bit, but it looks like they're going all the way around this shoreline towards the edge. But now we're starting to see teams get a little bit antsy here. When you're at this stage, too much time, you feel like you got to start moving, and TJB is looking to try to pick off some of these Vampire players. Maybe not. Second thoughts.
Vampire trying to push in around the south side of Quarry. They have been moving across for quite a while now. They tried to move up towards TJB position, but it was Besiktas Black who were able to take the shots and stop them from doing that. Vampire now on 3 players, but they have got their foot in the door, right? They are right back towards that quarry, and this is a pretty interesting shift, actually. It keeps a lot of those teams already in.
Yes, so it's a perfect zone for so many of these squads. Even Vampire, they're going to be able to move or just inch their way in little by little. But Besiktas Black are still out of this one, though. They got to get moving here. Not to mention Tianba, they've been in the blue zone for majority of this game. Now they're going to start making their way in, and it looks like they're going to have to get through Mad Bulls first.
Yeah, potentially a little bit of an obstacle, that wide swing from Mad Bulls. But if they can find Tulika on his own,
It's a tough shot.
they need to get that spray to be able to really slow the Mad Bulls down, but it was just a scout. They will come across each other. They'll know that there's now a team on their border on the west side of their approach towards the circle as they move down south, which means that they're going to be more wary of that. It is still going to be a very tricky approach because you've got Alliance and Ula X IHC, over on that eastern side. They are right now sandwiched up to the edge of the circle, which reduces the power of those compounds.
Yeah, Tiamba's in trouble here. I don't think they should have made those shots at all. You don't want to bring any attention to you. Mad Bulls are going to be staring in that direction. Tiamba's going to have to make a little bit of a blind rotation, and there are so many squads waiting for you. You got teams like Alliance right there. So if you're Tiamba, right now you're just kind of waiting. You're waiting to see if a fight's going to go off, and then hopefully come in third party that and make your way into the zone. So Tiamba have to be very, very quiet here and catch that timing perfectly. Meanwhile, Vampire Esports, getting pressured from Besiktas Black. That's Tony K knocked. That's just only 2 remaining players left up for Vampire.
That is unfortunate. Tony K, a powerhouse in the roster as well. Besiktas Black have been making life difficult, and it will continue to be even tougher. Newsy goes down to a nade, and it's just stoned now. Newly minted, or well, at the start of this year, freshly minted IGL to try and hold them together. There's a Molotov sent back their way, but Besiktas seem unstoppable in this roll-up. Newsy flushed away. That goes to TJB. They'll be able to pick that one up. Tony K's point, though, does go to Besiktas Black. Stone burning now in the Molotov, forced off the rock, forced back, needs to get some healing done. Anything that he can. Using the shack for cover, Toshpik moves on up, goes for the ground shots, hasn't even got that heal through. He goes for the challenge, falling back, and again, relying on TJB to slow Besiktas down, and he does just that. Longs with the shot to Toshpik, and that slows it down indeed.
Stone surviving for just a little bit longer here, but Besiktas Black is on the hunt. They know just how scary Vampire Esports can be. If you can take them out early, that is what you want to do, especially considering that Besiktas Black did play yesterday. So you want to stop some of these teams.
Tiamba out on the eastern side have rolled up to Alula X IHC, and it's not gone too well. 2 knocks have already gone through. They haven't found anything in response. These flushes are starting to come through. So Tiamba with some good third parties to start off with, but it's not going to go too much further. They do get a little bit of an answer. They're looking for the sprays, and XC might be able to get a little bit more profit on this match. They've got 7 lives already. If they can take more out of Alula X IHC, then they can start to say that this has been a very successful game for them. But even more importantly is another team on the east starts to get lower and lower and lower. It looked like they were going for a full hold, but now it's just down to Zyo.
Oh boy, and you talked about that average a little bit earlier. Tiamba have already passed it with 7 eliminations, so a great start for them. Let's just see how much further they can go. Now TJB, they have the main compound in this zone. They are dead center. Let's just see how many points they're going to be able to end up with at the end of this game.
I'm also looking at Alliance, right? They've had a pretty calm start, but now they need to start to frag out. There are only 3 players, though, on this northeastern side. It's been pretty brutal for the majority of our rosters. Only 3 teams with 4 players alive. TJB is one of them. 4MV out on that north side have a lot to fight through, so we'll be tracking them pretty hard right now. And you can see we're on board with Doc himself with that magic arm of his. Those nades seem to always find their mark. Another Molotov, and I don't think the Mad Bulls are going to be able to weather this one, but there's an off-angle shot coming through from DX Xavier.
DX Xavier did great yesterday. They're looking to continue that here. That's his talent out of there. Only 10 teams remaining, and folks, if you go out right now, that is 0 placement points. The pressure is starting to rise. Mad Bulls putting some shots from the blue zone. Their final remaining player, is he going to be able to get the knock?
Ooh,
so close!
And he goes down to an off angle there as well. 4MV taken off the map, as does the player out to the north for Mad Bulls. Alliance remain in with 3. Xavier with 3. Team Liquid with 4 on this northern side. It is going to be a bloodbath, but importantly, TJB have lost a player as well in the middle.
Oh boy, and now the zone centers up again on TJB. So TJB did lose 1. They have 7 eliminations so far, so a great game for them, but all eyes are on their spot. Let's see if they can hold it down. Meanwhile, Team Liquid, the champions here from PMSL Americas, Ayala, starting to throw out some of those Molotovs. You know that they have been waiting to catch up to Alpha 7. They're Brazilian brothers, and they take out the Xavier.
I feel like this is Team Liquid's game to lose now, with TJB sort of on the ropes, not being able to hold all the angles they'd like. Fragments of teams spread across the south here. It's Team Liquid who can carry this momentum forward. They just need to keep everyone alive, play for one another, and get rid of Alliance. That's their major barrier right now.
Let's see if they could do it. Let's see if they can do it, because you have TJB from those compounds just staring at this area, and that's exactly what they need to do. They need to shoot at anything that moves. Just play keep away at this point. Meanwhile, you got Besiktas coming on from down the hill, going to start climbing their way up little by little. That compound is very susceptible to pushes here. So TJB, even though they do have the dominant position, I'm going to give the edge to these teams playing the hills, to be honest.
Ooh, Team Liquid actually shrinking down from their position and moving along the west.
That is smart.
Using that terrain, sweep through. Stoned first to face. He's going to have to reposition, but it's not going to work out. Besiktas able to finally put the nail in the coffin. And that gives away Besiktas' position further through. Team Liquid sweeping, I think, is one of the best decisions that they could have made. Although, it does get rid of a lot of off-angle threat to TJB's central hold. The question is, what can Team Liquid do with the outer position?
Yeah, Team Liquid's trying to soak up some eliminations here, and that's what I was talking about, is that compound is basically in a bowl. So all these surrounding areas, and you can even see Alliance so close, but has plenty of coverage. Let's see if he's going to be able to get some shots onto Team Liquid. Honestly, Team Liquid's looking very, very strong. Even though they only have 2 eliminations so far, I think they're going to get a whole bunch more.
We'll see if they're able to keep this one going. Tiamba, remember, they had a great start to the match with the third-party rotate. And they're still alive as well with their solo representative. Leon up close now against Xiol from Alulex IHC. Only 2 elims for them. And a low HP close to him. There's only 3 players here. 1v3s are doable. The heal doesn't come through. And their SK12 is doing a lot of work, but it's not going to be enough to do the heavy lifting for them. It was going to be a little bit of an outside chance there, but go down. 2 eliminations on the match in 6th place.
Oh, that was so close. If he was able to get that shot, who knows what could have happened, but Alliance shut that down, and they shut it down well. 8 eliminations so far. They are doing great here at this one, and now we're down to our final 4 teams here for match number 1 on day 2.
And the shift finally goes away from TJB. They're on the outside. Oh, Shan's so close. Solo player right on the money.
That's 1.
Takes him out. First player down. 1v2 now as Leon's. Are they looking for him? Do they know he's on the tree? It seems like they do. They just need to isolate these angles. The Cook is there. Cluck not going to be able to take the peek. He's forced out. He's forced wide, but no damage. There is a response. The knock goes through the back lines. He finds 1, and it's Shan with a 1 versus 3 for Tiamba. They do not stop. It's 11 eliminations, and the solo warrior himself there to play. A knock over towards Team Liquid. Might be able to find the knock. The flush is there. Cardozin seals the deal as TJB tried to stretch out, but it's not out of the question for Shan to make it happen again.
Are you kidding me? Sean's got those nades locked and loaded, and TJB is feeling the punishment. Chief gets naded down to about 20% HP, and it's really up to Ayala to finish off Tiamba here as fast as he possibly can. Sean, all by his lonesome. Can he make something happen? He cannot. It's going to be Team Liquid to win right off the bat. They come in from Group Yellow, and Group Green, and shut things down.
But what a way to carry on for Tiamba, right? Shan is a Terminator. This is the 2nd time we've seen them do this, right? Come in, not win the game, but kind of steal the show. An excellent rotate out from Cow on the northern side to third party that bridge engagement, slurp up a load of those points, dominating on that northeastern side and coming on through with a strong performance to open things up. But Team Liquid played their position really, really well. That sweep down on the western edge really played out in their favor.
Oh, it's beautifully done right there. I mean, Tiamba, after this one, we know they're going to top the leaderboards. I mean,